Ibero Puebla is a university located in the city of Puebla, Mexico. Our university was one of the first private universities of advanced learning in Mexico. It established its first campus in Mexico City in 1943, and the present day Jesuit university system is made up of 7 additional campuses. Ibero Puebla is one of the universities in Mexico with the greatest tradition, and due to our Jesuit identity, we strive to educate highly capable individuals who will form a better world for tomorrow. In this workshop, the design area of the Ibero will be the one participating, specifically the industrial design and architecture courses. The Ibero Puebla is recognized at national level for its data, short for Department of Arts, Design and Architecture. This year, the architecture and the industrial design careers were placed at the top 10 on the national ranking. We are a group of 20 people of both careers being oriented by our 3 teachers, architect Nicolás Ramales, architect José Luis Anoy, and teacher Diana Juárez. As professional students, we think that the new normality after the COVID situation will be in the need of major changes. As designers, we think that the design starts the path for most of these updates.
The structure of this work will be divided into 4 phases. The first is the situation in Mexico, which tells us about the most important events that happened in Mexico and Puebla, so that we can give context about what we have experienced here. The second phase is the approach to the situation, which seeks a local and personal approach to the problem, listing the statements of the entire group and based on our research. We were able to create a general view based on an update information and with different approaches. The third is approach from the activities, which shows the activities of personal situations and our experience to create solutions and proposals. And the last one is systems and solutions, which tells us about our analysis of current systems and the changes they will have in face of a new normality and what it will represent.
To explain the situation in Mexico, we made a timeline of the country's events and a parallel timeline of Puebla. This will explain the national context for a better understanding to the current figures. In February 28, the first person is confirmed with coronavirus. The suspension of schools and massive events beginning the 14 and 16, and in the 18th, the first death by COVID was confirmed. In March 23rd, the government applied mandatory measures to avoid contagion. Also, the 24th phase to start, and jobs involving mobilization of people were suspended. At the end of the month, COVID is categorized as a health emergency. In April 16, suspension of classes lengthens, and in the 21, phase 3 start. The government implement restrictive transport measures. In May 8, Mexico started to collaborate with the UN to develop a vaccine, and 3 days later, IMSS started plasma treatments with infected people. 20 of May, it was announced that Mexico's economy is expected to contract by 7% in 2020, and 1 day later, at least 500 Cuban health workers are helping to treat coronavirus. In the beginning of June, Mexico passed 10,000 deaths, and in the 3rd, Mexico reported its highest daily infected total to date.
Now, this is a map of Mexico's situation, with more than 100,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, in which we can see that Puebla is one of the most affected states. These numbers updated until June 4th. Now the situation in Puebla. It all started the 10th of March when a 47-year-old German national arrived from his vacation in Italy. He is a Volkswagen employee in Mexico. In accordance with established protocols, the patient was placed in isolation in a private hospital until and past 14 days under observation. He stayed as an asymptomatic carrier of the virus. Now, the importance of the industry in Puebla and the impact that will have due to coronavirus, the automotive industry can reach up to 25% of the gross domestic product of Puebla. Also, the federal government announced that the automotive, the construction, and the mining industry, activities considered essential, will close during the coronavirus contingency period.
Only the automotive sector and its value chains is 25%. The 3 sectors, construction, mining, and automotive, together account for 35 and 40% of the GDP. Puebla has 3,099 confirmed cases and 497 deceased until May 31. 118 of the 217 municipalities are infected, and the top 3 Puebla cases are Puebla Capital, San Andres Cholula, and Huejotzingo. Here's a timeline of contagion in a linear graph updated until May 31 and shows that the mortality is more than 10%. Here are the main measures taken in Puebla, such as suspension of educational activities, temporary suspension of non-essential activities, basic prevention measures, implementation of circulation restriction, respiratory mouthpiece mandatory, suspension of the automotive industry and construction, reprogramming of mass concentration events, government closed shops that do not comply with sanitary regulations. Government will condone taxes and micro-enterprises, 24 hours assistance and guidance from doctors and psychologists, inmates with suspected COVID-19 transferred, and reconvention of 7 more hospitals that are part of the state health system.
An activity was carried out on our positions on this COVID-19 pandemic, and the most important points were taken, which are: this pandemic made us stop the rhythm of life we were heading, has given us the time to stop and a chance to reflection. COVID-19 is the point that will mark a new beginning, a new way of life and projection. The change we need goes beyond the physical part. We must get closer to the human part. As a response to COVID-19, we have to think of alternative scenarios and actions that involve social well-being and participation of humans to really understand the different realities and perspectives that will come with the virus around the world. It's important to rethink our cities and spaces in order to find balance with the humane and every other aspect, and at the same time, unify them. It's important to have a vision of a world through design, architecture, and every other aspect of it that is sufficient and inclusive, flexible and adaptable, and that is developed through participation and collaboration.
Mind maps, research and informative lectures. A group mental map was made where we were all putting our opinions about this pandemic, and later all that information was analyzed and synthesized. It was divided into 4 subtopics, the first of which was COVID-19 and design, and subsequently 3 questions were answered. The COVID will change the way of designing, in which the majority agree that yes, since throughout history the way of designing has also changed due to pandemics or natural disasters. Here comes into play the architectural design that can change cities to turn them into green spaces, proposing alternatives from recycling and reusing materials. Can design possibly impact on COVID? Yes, through flexibility and inclusion, collaborative design, and the creation of products that are easily accessible. If new design models are generated, the models of production and operation by one that is sustainable. Consume. We must rationalize resources to avoid shortages. And finally, social.
The second subtopic was COVID-19 and human interactions. What will the space of the future be like? Public space will be intensified. There will be more open, ventilated, and less congested spaces. Social reconstruction will be promoted by defining the public and private spaces, and a greater balance of cities between the natural and the artificial. Can we keep the same routines? The routines will change to favor the collective ways. It is necessary to do certain routines, prioritizing our activities in a responsible way with the environment, and returning to the routines we have before this pandemic would be a mistake. Where do social interaction models go? Physical contact will reduce. We will have a more restrictive normality, and part of human interaction will cease.
The third subtopic is COVID-19 and Mexico. How will this civilizational crisis impact? Social relationships will be more valued. New rules of coexistence will be generated based on the empathy, stay at home to protect the most vulnerable, and individuality will be left behind and we will be more collective. Will new economic models explode? We must include creative industries in our economic models, design models of social economy where communities participate, and we must have new financial mechanisms to resolve the crisis. Are the SDGs relevant in post-COVID Mexico? Yes, in order to meet the Millennium Development Goals and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals must be ranked and start with support among citizens in the face of the coming economic crisis.
Finally, we have COVID-19 and architecture. Green cities or digital cities. Both models have turned out to be necessary. It is necessary to put ecology as a priority. However, using technology correctly, we obtain positive impacts on the environment, and in this way, we obtain a good balance. How to think about public space in conditions of social distancing? Correct place for each participant of public space, pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and public transport, being fair and redistributing roads. Also, reinventing the sense of scale and physical borders, as well as a universal design of the city neighborhood. Can the current transport logistics be maintained? No. You must change by having more social distance, less pollution using other means of transport that do not pollute, such as bicycles, and more accessibility for all.
Journey maps, a different view on the current systems. Individually, each one of us made a journey map, showing the activities that were carried out daily in our lives, before and during quarantine. We identify the points of pain and happiness. The positive activities were social interaction and outdoor activities, with a percentage of happiness of 56.3, while activities like fast living and not having time to be at home generated a satisfactory feeling with 29.3%. And finally, we identified the pain points in activities like not spending quality time with the family and not getting enough sleep, being 14.4% of negative emotions. We came to the conclusion that every day before COVID-19, our day was organized depending on the activities we were supposed to do. Throughout the day, most of us have social interaction, which is necessary for our self-development. During quarantine, we were able to identify the new system we were facing, identifying the new normality. The positive activities were that the time we have now for ourselves and improving our healthy lifestyle having a percentage of 55.5%. Activities that create a satisfactory feeling are the adaptation of spaces for a special activity in our houses, and the family time we spend can cause problems, being 29.4%. And finally, we identify the persona's pain points as it was the social distances we're facing and the lack of concentration in our homes, being the 15.1%. Coming to the conclusion that now we give each space in our house a special and different use, making my home more pleasant and enjoyable being in it.
As a 2-day exercise, each of us analyzed the situation that we are currently living in, so we made 7 conceptual proposals, which aim to facilitate continuity in different areas and circumstances, such as session between family and friends, the transportation and departures, recreation, work and studies, such as concentration and multitasking, and finally, the order and separation of activities. Now you will see a glimpse of what we have made for these conceptual proposals. You'll be able to see them in a more detailed way, either in the blog or the document presented in other platforms.
System analysis and solutions. We started on analysis of the existing systems and focused on how to improve the system in the future. We subdivided these subjects so we could focus on one of them. The main systems are the following. 1. Globalization, socio-environmental management. 2. Psychology at home, home office. 3. Social, political, and economic system. 4. Social psychology. 5. Habits. 6. New normality. All of the research was based on the leverage point system proposed by Donella Meadows that specifies data on the current system and gives feedback to transform the system into a better version of itself, improving it and having better results. The first one is the work side of things, how COVID-19 changed this. Easily distracted, too much noise, saving time and money due to transportation, exhaustion thanks to long hours on a computer, less productive. Moving forward to the objectives we would like this new system to have. A psychologically healthy home office, specific space for work, establishing specific hours for work and for interaction with family, and reduce the time with electronic devices.
Next, we have the social side where we have the following insights. People are effective, physically speaking, lack of personal space, numerous reunions, greetings. The objectives of these new systems are changing the mentality of people, work with existing rules, not spreading false information, reunions and open spaces, and with less people. Another system that has to change is the public transportation, which has the following insights. People are very close to each other, touching spots that people touched. People will prefer private vehicles. A good public transfer means less traffic. For this new system, we would like to have these objectives: saving money, time, and space, to be comfortable for anyone, hygiene measures, and sticking to an itinerary and design hours.